Hey cats, what's happening? I'll tell you what, middle of April, yesterday was snowing, today rainy, cold, not very conducive to taking a ride. So, although I have been able to go out and get some riding in on a couple of nice days we've had here, I'm not going to be riding today. So, and then we're on this COVID-19 lockdown, stay home order, which is, I know it's getting old. It's getting old for me too, but I don't want to get sick. I don't want my wife to get sick. So we're just kind of following the governor's orders and doing what we're told. We're staying home. We're just going out for groceries and whatnot. So today, I'm going to tell you a little story. Most of you guys know that I just retired maybe a year and a half ago from a 44-year career with the park system. I had the pleasure of working for a pretty good-sized county park system, and I like to say it was probably one of the best county park systems in the country. Top of the line. Everything we did was very professionally done and very well done, and we have some beautiful, beautiful parks, quite a few of them in the system. I started my career there right out of high school, and I stuck with it, and I really liked it. I really liked working for the parks, and worked my way up through the ranks over the years to eventually end my career as a project manager. But I had a lot of experience. I guess they call it the School of Hard Knocks. Without having a college education or anything, I learned everything I needed to learn for my career through the opportunities that were given to me with that. When I first started with the park, my superintendent was an old drill sergeant, an old Army drill sergeant. And he was hardcore. He wasn't liked by anyone because he was very aggressive, very mean, I guess you could say. He would line us up in the morning, when we came into work, and he would walk down through the ranks and inspect everybody. Button your shirt, tuck that shirt in. Where's your belt? Get a belt. I don't care where you get one, just get one, or you can go home. Well, when he got to me, at the time, I guess you could call me kind of more like a hippie. Well, I had long hair, and he would grab me by the hair and yank my hair back, and he would say, "Son, you're going to get a haircut tomorrow, or you might as well not show up to work." Well, I showed up to work anyway and didn't get a haircut. And so I got my hair yanked on quite a bit by him. He liked me though, regardless, because I had a good work ethic. I was a good employee. I was always there, always punctual, always on time, always ready to go do my job. And I was a quick learner. I had a good head on my shoulders, a lot of common sense. I was able to solve problems and pick up on things very quickly. And he liked me. Well, the superintendent called me in his office one day and he said, here's the deal. We just bought some property, over a couple hundred acres, almost 300 acres. And it is a private park right now. It's a private swim club. And we'd like to take over that operation. But right now it's being operated as this private park with fully staffed already. And I'd like to give you the opportunity to be the first employee of our system to go there and be my eyes and ears and learn how the operation goes so that we can eventually take over and operate that swim park. I said, "Oh, that sounds like something I'd like to do." And he said, "Good, because you don't have any choice. You're going to report there on Monday, whether you like it or not." Okay. So he told me where to go, who to report to, and I did that. So Monday morning came and I reported to work bright and early, and I found what I thought was the maintenance area, or was told that was the maintenance area of this park. Basically looked like a house with a barn and some equipment sitting around and some outbuildings. And I knocked on the door, and the guy that comes to the door was the caretaker of of this country club type swim park. Great big lake with the beach went all the way around this lake. It was pretty impressive operation. It had been running. This park had been in operation since like the 1940s, 1950s, and it was very, very popular in the community. Hundreds and hundreds of people would go there to picnic and swim and enjoy family life. So I knock on the door, and the caretaker guy comes to the door. All he's wearing is a pair of Daisy Duke shorts, cut-off jeans, and some sandals. He says, "Yeah, I'm the caretaker here." And I said, "Okay, well, is this where I report?" And he goes, "Well, I don't care where you report." And I said, "Well, I got to come to work every day. Is there an office here or something I can go to?" "No." I said, "Well, I got to have an office or something I can report to." He says, "Well, there's that shed over there." He says, "You can use that, I guess." That's all I can tell you. So I says, "Well, what would you like me to do today? I'm at your service. I'm here to work." He goes, "Well, I don't care what you do." He says, "I'm going to go mow." So he grabs a shotgun out of his house and he heads over to jump on the tractor. I said, "What are you doing with what do you do with the shotgun?" "Oh, I always take a shotgun with me when I go to mow. I shoot rabbits and groundhogs. That's what I do." I said, "In a public park? You do that while you're mowing?" "Oh, yeah, I've been doing that for years." I said, "Wow, I don't know how that's going to fly, but okay." Well, he went off mowing, and I went up to the shanty there and opened the door, and of course the place was full of mice, and it was piled full of old empty paint cans and other trash and debris. So I had a couple days' work to get that place just in somewhat of shape that I could call it my office. It needed a lot of work. So I busied myself with that for quite a while, and I was able to set up like a little card table in the corner and a folding chair where I had a place where I could sit down and fill out my time card. I could keep my equipment in there, my hard hat, my muck boots, my safety vest, things that I needed for work I could keep there, and also a place to put my lunch, my water jug, and whatnot. Well, I was in full park uniform. It was required of me to wear a maintenance uniform. And I had a work uniform, and nobody else that worked there had a uniform. So I kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. I was the odd man out. And I guess in a way I was a threat to them. These people had worked there for many years. And now their owners, an older couple that lived on the property in an estate, they had a really kind of a big house. It was a strange house because they had added to it over the years. And there was money in this house, but it was a weird house because when you went in, the owner was a little short guy. He was like a World War II veteran. And he built the house to his specs, so the ceilings were low, and you had to actually duck to go through the doorways. He had built it himself. But the owner still lived there, but he had given up the operation to this Metro Park system that I worked for. But all of his employees were still there. Of course, none of them wore uniforms. They were just, there was the gatehouse and the gate attendant girls that took money and season passes as people would come in. There was a full lifeguard staff, a concession where they sold food, all kinds of facets to the operation, including the maintenance area, which I was dropped into. So I was all eyes and ears. I learned about all the different facets and how they worked, and I met with all the different people there. I talked with the lifeguards. I talked with the gate attendants. I learned the operation pretty well. Well, I came back to my little shanty office the one day and went to eat my lunch, and I took a drink of my water and spit it out right away. Somebody had put soap in there. I took the lid off, and there was actually a bar of soap in my drinking water. Well, this shanty that was my office, there was no water there. There was no water service there. In fact, there wasn't even a restroom. I had one of these little actual outhouse that sat over by the woods. Just a one-holer outhouse, that's all I had. I had to bring my own water, so it was very discouraging to find somebody who'd put a bar of soap in my jug, and who would that be? Well, it was this caretaker guy, who was more like a beach bum than he was a caretaker. He was more interested in getting his suntan, wearing his Daisy Dukes, you know, and going out and strutting his stuff. And prior to me coming in there was no rules or anything. He could do whatever he wanted to do. Well, now with the park system taking over, there was a different set of rules. There was a different way that things were going to start being run. And one of the things they made him do was wear a uniform, among other things. And he didn't take too kindly to it. And I was that scapegoat. I was that one guy there that everybody looked at and said, he's the outsider that's coming in and taking over our little community here. Although I wasn't, I was just set there by my superintendent as his eyes and ears. I wasn't really making the rules. So, but I was the one that was abused for it. Well, anyway, I went right to him and I told him, I said, damn it, you put soap in my water jug, and I'm not very happy about that. In fact, I said that very upset about that, and I said, I think that's just immature and rude and unkind, and he just snickered and laughed about it, and I should have just clocked him right there, but I didn't do anything like that, because you know me, I'm kind of a passive guy, so I'm not real aggressive, I'm very slow to anger, but I let him know right to his face that I knew it was him that did it, and I didn't think it was very funny. He didn't like me. He had me stereotyped as a hippie, just a worthless hippie, and he let me know that more than once. So it was a very tough situation for me to work along with him during that time, but I did my best. One day he grabbed a hold of me and he said, hey, I got to show you something, get in the truck. Well, I started climbing the truck, and he said, "Now just jump in the back of the truck." For some reason, he wanted me to ride in the bed of the truck, which I did. He sped around to the other side of the park, and when we got there, he pulled off on the side of the road, jumped out of the cab, walked back, and I was getting ready to climb out of the back of the truck. Well, he grabbed my arm, twisted my arm behind my back in one of those wrench holds, you know, and started dragging me out of the truck, out of the bed of the truck, onto the ground. Well, right away, my first instinct was to let him have it. And he came real close to me, slugging him in the face. And I told him, I said, you keep your hands off of me. If you touch me again, I'll see that I have your job. He never did touch me again, but he was very angered by me. And he said, here's the deal. I know you're growing marijuana in the park. I said, are you nuts? What are you talking about? I said, where's the marijuana? Well, I don't have any, but back here in the woods, there's a place that looks like it's tilled up, and I know you were back there getting it ready to plant your marijuana. That's stereotyping for sure. I said, you're nuts. You're out of your gourd. I said, you know, I've been working for this park for quite a while now, and I said, I would never do anything to jeopardize my job. That's stupid. But I said, I find it kind of interesting that you would kind of assume that I was growing marijuana. I said, what the heck? What's wrong with you? Well, it just boiled down to nothing more than his hatred for me. He didn't like me. I was changing his little world, even though it wasn't me. It was the bigger picture. But like I said, I was the one that was planted there to infiltrate and begin to change that into a Metro Parks facility. Eventually, he couldn't deal with the responsibilities. He was a lot of burdens were placed on his shoulders. He couldn't even do payroll right. He wasn't that intelligent. And I was able to learn an awful lot during that period, and not so much from him either, but just by using common sense, and reported stuff back to my superintendent, who was very pleased. They eventually had to let him go. and it was a good thing. See you later. He couldn't handle it. That being said, I kind of took over the operation. I had the knowledge of how everything ran at that point. And they brought in some other management. Being that to be a park manager, to manage that park, they wanted you to be a commissioned police officer. I was not. I had no interest in being a police officer. They wanted me to go to the police academy and get commissioned and then wear a uniform, a police uniform, to be a manager of that park. And I refused to do that. I said, no, my interests are in construction and management, not in law enforcement. But still, I had all the knowledge of running that park, so I was able to train. I think over the years, I was there for 18 years, I trained 5 different park managers there to run that place. I mean, they just kept turning over for some reason. A lot of stress, but to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. It came natural. And we were able to make some changes very subtly, but it kind of snowballed, and we eventually went in and redesigned the entire swim park, put new roads, parking lots, tore down the old bathhouse and built a new one, had a whole new lifeguard staff. We built a new gatehouse and had new gate attendants. Everything was all kind of parkized, made to fit our model a little better. And that park became so popular that on a Sunday afternoon, say it was a hot, sunny Sunday afternoon, there was over 9,000 people in that park on one day. The traffic would be lined up clear over, down both ways down the road of people trying to get in. And it was just so crowded. It was an amazing place, but a beautiful, beautiful park. It's still there to this day, but most of the swimming is no longer there anymore. They've reduced it to a very small section of beach because people just aren't doing that anymore. I don't know, it's just the culture, the way the trends that people take. People aren't picnicking in the parks like they used to. I mean, there used to be 500 picnic tables in this park, and you'd be lucky to find one on a good weekend. People would grab the tables right away. I'll bet you today you're lucky to find 25, 30 picnic tables in that park, and they're probably all empty because people just don't picnic like they used to anymore. So anyway, that's my story. Memories from the past, some things I had to deal with in my career that I found somewhat interesting. I thought I would share with you. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, it doesn't cost you nothing. Just push that red subscribe button. Get on board with us. I'll try to keep you entertained with some good videos. I got more stories. We'll do some biker stuff. We'll talk about motorcycle things. We'll go on motorcycle rides. And appreciate those of you that are on board with us. Appreciate the support that you give us. So until next time, guys, you know what I say, ride hard and die free.